You've been there. You see her across the room, calm, distant, almost unreachable. She's polite, but not curious, friendly, but not invested. And somewhere in your chest, a quiet thought forms. She's not interested. But here's the truth no one says out loud. Interest is not something you ask for. It's something you awaken. And most men never learn how. Welcome to Female Code Unlocked, the place where attraction is stripped of fantasy and exposed for what it really is: psychology, emotion, and identity. If you're here to understand women on a deeper level, not chase them, subscribe now. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Now listen carefully. When a woman isn't interested, it's rarely because of your looks, your money, or your words. It's because emotionally, you feel predictable, safe in the wrong way, available in a way that costs nothing. You're standing right in front of her, but energetically, you're invisible. Think about the last time you liked someone who didn't like you back. What hurt wasn't rejection. What hurt was realizing you were seen as harmless. Women don't desire what feels emotionally flat. They respond to contrast, to tension, to the quiet sense that there's more beneath the surface than what's being shown. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The moment you try to convince a woman to like you, you confirm to her subconscious that you don't believe you're already enough. Attraction doesn't grow from effort. It grows from presence, from a man who doesn't lean forward emotionally, but allows space to exist between him and her. See, when she's not interested, she's not rejecting you. She's reacting to the version of you that's trying too hard to be understood. Women don't fall for explanations. They fall for experiences. And right now, your emotional energy is explaining itself instead of being felt. Picture this. You're talking to her. She's listening. But her eyes drift. Her body stays open, yet her emotions are elsewhere. That's not disinterest. That's unengaged curiosity. And curiosity is fragile. The mistake most men make is trying to raise attraction by adding more attention, more texting, more validation. But attraction doesn't increase with addition. It increases with subtraction. When you stop chasing reactions, when you stop performing for approval, something shifts. She feels it before she understands it. Your calm becomes unsettling. Your silence becomes loud. Your absence becomes noticeable. Not because you pulled away to manipulate, but because you reclaimed your emotional center. Here's what women are deeply drawn to but rarely articulate: a man who doesn't need the outcome. A man whose identity doesn't bend based on whether she smiles or not. A man who enjoys the interaction, but isn't feeding on it. That kind of emotional independence creates a quiet tension in her mind. She starts asking questions she never planned to ask. Why doesn't he try harder? Why doesn't he seem affected? What does he know that I don't? And just like that, interest begins to form where none existed before. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped leaking need through your behavior. This is where attraction is born, not in words, not in compliments, not in effort, but in the emotional atmosphere you create by being grounded, self-contained, and unreactive. And this is only the surface, because once you understand how women respond to emotional contrast, you realize something dangerous and powerful. Disinterest is not the end. It's the beginning, if you know what you're doing. Most men think attraction is built by moving closer, leaning in, explaining more, trying harder. But what actually pulls a woman towards you is when you stop trying to pull at all. Because the female mind doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to emotional gravity. And gravity doesn't chase. It holds. When a woman isn't interested, she has already placed you in a category. Not consciously, but emotionally. You're safe. You're nice. You're predictable. And nothing kills desire faster than predictability. Desire needs uncertainty. Not chaos, but depth she hasn't accessed yet. Here's what changes everything. The moment you stop reacting to her level of interest. Most men rise and fall emotionally based on how much attention she gives them. If she replies fast, they feel confident. If she pulls back, they panic. That emotional dependence is loud, and women sense it instantly. But when you remain emotionally stable, whether she leans in or pulls away, most men think attraction is built by moving closer, leaning in, explaining more, trying harder. But what actually pulls a woman toward you is when you stop trying to pull at all. Because the female mind doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to emotional gravity. And gravity doesn't chase, it holds. When a woman isn't interested, she has already placed you in a category. Not consciously, but emotionally. You're safe, you're nice, you're predictable, and nothing kills desire faster than predictability. Desire needs uncertainty, not chaos, but depth she hasn't accessed yet. Here's what changes everything. The moment you stop reacting to her level of interest. Most men rise and fall emotionally based on how much attention she gives them. If she replies fast, they feel confident. If she pulls back, they panic. That emotional dependence is loud, and women sense it instantly. But when you remain emotionally stable, whether she leans in or pulls away, her subconscious starts to register something different. You're not chasing validation. You're not seeking permission to exist in her world. You're centered. And centered men disrupt patterns. Think about it. She's used to men adjusting themselves to her mood, laughing a little harder, talking a little more, trying a little extra. So when you stay relaxed, present, unaffected, her brain starts searching for the reason, and the female mind hates unanswered questions. This is where interest begins, not because you impressed her, but because you broke her expectations. You see, attraction isn't logical. It's emotional contrast. If she feels nothing around you, you're invisible. If she feels tension, quiet, controlled, grounded tension, you become memorable. And tension doesn't come from words. It comes from restraint. From knowing when not to speak, when not to explain, when not to prove. Here's a powerful truth most men never hear. Women don't want to be convinced you're valuable. They want to discover it on their own. The moment you try to show her why you're different, you remove the mystery. But when you let your actions speak quietly, when you allow space instead of filling it, she leans in emotionally without realizing why. And suddenly, she's the one curious. She starts noticing things she didn't before. The way you don't rush to respond. The way you listen without trying to win. The way you're comfortable letting moments breathe. That comfort with silence signals strength. Because only men who are internally complete can afford to be still. Now here's the part most people misunderstand. This isn't about acting cold. It's not about ignoring her. It's not about manipulation. It's about self-possession. When you stop needing her interest to feel confident, you become the kind of man women become interested in. Paradoxical, but real. Because desire isn't built on need, it's built on polarity. She needs to feel that you're choosing her, not clinging to her, that you enjoy her presence, but don't depend on it. And when she senses that, something flips inside her. Her emotions wake up, not all at once, not dramatically, but subtly. A second glance, a longer pause, a question she didn't plan to ask. That's interest forming, quietly, naturally, organically. And once that door opens, even slightly, everything changes. Because now she's emotionally engaged. And emotional engagement is the foundation of attraction. Once emotional interest sparks, most men ruin it without realizing. They feel the shift, the warmer tone, the curiosity in her eyes, the subtle way she leans in. And instead of letting it grow naturally, they rush to secure it. That urgency is where attraction quietly dies. Because desire doesn't want to be captured. It wants to be felt. At this stage, your power isn't in doing more, it's in holding the frame. You see, once she's emotionally engaged, she's subconsciously testing one thing. Will he stay the same now that I'm interested? Women don't test men with questions. they test them with energy shifts. She may pull back slightly. She may tease. She may go quiet. Not to play games, but to see if your emotional center collapses. If you chase. If you seek reassurance. If you change your behavior to keep her interested. You answer her question the wrong way. Attraction deepens when she realizes your confidence isn't borrowed from her attention. This is where most men talk too much. They overshare, explain their intentions, reveal emotions she hasn't earned yet. But mystery isn't silence, it's timing. You let her experience you in layers, not all at once, because the female mind bonds through progressive emotional discovery. Think about the men women remember the longest, not the ones who said the most, not the ones who tried the hardest, but the ones who made them feel something they couldn't name. A presence that felt grounded, a calm that felt intentional, a masculinity that didn't perform. It existed. This is where you slow everything down. Your voice, your responses, your reactions. You don't mirror her excitement, you anchor it. And when you do that, her emotions rise while yours stay steady. That polarity is intoxicating. Here's something subtle but powerful. Women feel safest exploring desire with a man who doesn't lose himself in it. That safety creates emotional surrender. Not submission, but trust. And trust unlocks attraction on a deeper level. At this point, your words matter less than your emotional pacing. You don't chase conversations. You let them end naturally. You don't text to maintain presence. You allow space to do the work. Because space gives her room to feel. And when she starts thinking about you when you're not there, you've already won. The goal is not to make her like you. The goal is to make her feel different when she's with you compared to every other man. Calmer, more aware, more emotionally awake. And that only happens when you're not trying to produce an outcome. Women don't fall for effort. They fall for emotional leadership. A man who leads the emotional rhythm without force, without fear, without needing permission. And once she senses that, she begins investing, asking more, sharing more, opening more. Not because you demanded it, but because your emotional stillness gave her room to step forward. That's the real shift. When she moves toward you emotionally, and you don't rush to grab it, you let it come. At this stage, attraction is fragile, but not weak. It's like a low flame, invisible to others, powerful if protected, easily destroyed if you blow on it. Most men think locking attraction means intensifying emotion, more presence, more affection, more availability. But that's not how desire bonds. Desire bonds when a woman feels chosen, not chased. Here's the quiet psychological truth. The moment a woman feels she has fully figured you out, the emotional charge fades, not because she dislikes you, but because her mind no longer needs to explore. Female attraction feeds on emotional unfolding. So you don't lock attraction by holding tighter. You lock it by remaining grounded while allowing her to invest. Watch how this works. She opens up emotionally, shares something personal, lets her guard slip. Your instinct might be to match that vulnerability immediately. But emotional leadership means you don't mirror. You receive. You acknowledge without drowning her in reassurance. You listen without trying to fix. You stay calm instead of getting pulled into intensity. That calm tells her something powerful. This man can hold my emotions without losing himself. And that's rare. Women don't bond deeply with men who need them emotionally. They bond with men who contain themselves. This is where attachment forms. Not attachment through dependency, but attachment through emotional safety and polarity. You remain consistent, not predictable, but stable. Your tone doesn't spike. Your behavior doesn't shift based on her mood. Your identity doesn't change because she's closer now. And that consistency creates trust. Trust allows desire to relax. And when desire relaxes, it deepens. Now here's the final layer most men never reach. You don't make her want you by being perfect. You make her want you by being complete without her. That completeness gives her freedom to choose you. And choice is everything. When she feels she's choosing you, not being pulled, pressured, or pursued, her attraction becomes self-reinforcing. She invests more because she wants to. She thinks about you because it feels natural. She desires you because it's her decision. And once a woman emotionally chooses you, she defends that choice internally. That's when attraction stops being fragile. That's when it becomes solid. Not loud, not dramatic, but deeply rooted. This is the truth most people never tell you. You don't make a woman want you by trying to be wanted. You become wanted by being emotionally self-contained, grounded, and intentional, regardless of her initial interest. Disinterest isn't rejection, it's neutrality. And neutrality is easily reshaped by a man who understands emotional psychology instead of chasing validation. If this changed how you see attraction, even slightly, you're already ahead of most men. And if you want to keep unlocking what women feel but rarely explain, stay here. Because once you understand the code, everything looks different.